Hey everyone, it's Mozart here. So, today we had a drop. That's what I'm seeing right now. Bitcoin, which, well, is starting to look more like the final one. And yeah, I currently have a long position on Bitcoin publicly in the general channel. I had a limit order set, and I placed it at 5 nice eights. And on the pullback, the price didn't quite make it. Unfortunately, it didn't reach my add-on. So, I had my first entry point at 90, about $7,000, and I wanted to average down at this level. The price didn't quite make it, unfortunately, but that's okay. Let's see. It's not evening yet, but even if it doesn't reach, and we turn around somewhere around the current levels after tomorrow's PPI and the CPI after that, then so be it. But even if it doesn't get there, we'll turn around there, plus or minus the current levels based on tomorrow's PPI, and after tomorrow's CPI, then so be it. Alright, I'll just stick with my upper position because it's already double size here. So it's like an alternative plan B. So, about the charting. This green channel here, we can remove the upper one. So, we tested it. They dropped. Down. It did its job. Next. Is this drop enough objectively? Overall, yes, this drop is sufficient. According to the indicators, everything shown in the previous blockchain video has been fulfilled. The targets have been met, marking a strong correction in all bull markets. The targets, at least, have been met. This, as a rule, is considered a strong correction in all bull markets. And I'll say it again, that was enough. Plus, liquidations have risen again for Bitcoin, but they're not very big. Here we have a total of $30 million in long liquidations over the last hour. Less than the first drop, bullish divergence. Altcoin liquidations over $700 million. Here we already have a bullish divergence. But overall, liquidations in the market with altcoins are over $700 million. Altoe suffers much more. Liquidation. Next, net, realized profit to loss. So far, the daily chart hasn't gone back into a downtrend. In the 24-hour view, I'm looking at it, and it's pretty much the same. It's easier to look at it this way. The chart had ambiguity, is now clear. The average purchase price for 1 to 3 months is 91,900. So this chart, in the last video, was ambiguous. Now clear. Average purchase price for 1 to 3 months cohort is 91,900, currently about 91,900, tested with margin, as expected, precisely, hit back in 2021. Once for sure, hit not just twice, during 2017 bull run. We also hit it back in 2021, there was definitely one time for sure. We also hit it more than twice, and during the bull run of 2017. With such bounces, that's always been enough, and I mean exactly. We also hit it. Once, as you can see, we bounced up, and then we broke through. And here, the trend has already shifted to a downward daily chart, along with this prolonged chop. And on top of that, this also applies to the overall cohorts of short-term holders, meaning from 1 hour to 155 days, or up to 6 months. Their average purchase price is around $88,500. So, alright. The low was at 88,900 on Binance, and around 89,000 on Bybit. Well, more or less, we've also reached that point. So basically, hypothetically, yeah, we could still see some kind of update to that low, maybe even go a bit lower by the end of it. Let's say tomorrow, on some negative data, or after tomorrow on PPI AI Pi AI. Let's update that low a bit lower, say to 88 or 87. I can't rule it out right away, but on the other hand, we can't get stuck there either. Because if we get stuck there, this pattern will kick in, and it's not a good one. If the price starts to close at the height of this pattern, we need to drop to $82,000. That's below the current S4 pivot, and if we fall there, we'd be heading down to the S4 from last month, which is basically around 78 to 77. At that point, there won't be any bullish vibes left here. If the price does start closing at the height of this pattern, we need to drop to $82,000. That's below the current S4 pivot, and if we drop down there, we'd be heading to the S4 from last month, which is basically around 78 to 77. At that point, there won't be any bullish vibes left here. That's unlikely. Although, of course, this uncertainty with the 100 moving average remains, as well as with the lower boundary of both the red channel and the orange channel. That is, in principle, I am leaving this opportunity to come here open for now. But considering the current number of liquidations and what I see on the blockchain, the probability is just under 50%. Although, again, everything will heavily depend on tomorrow's PPI data and, most importantly, the CPI data the day after. So, tomorrow we have producer inflation, and the day after, we have consumer inflation. Everything is done here. That's it. It's clear here. The same thing can be observed. Here's January of 2024. We hit it and bounced back. 2021. We haven't really hit it at all during this bull run. In 2017, we hit it twice. Well, three. What can I say? 1, 2, 3. That's it. 3 times we hit it and immediately bounced back with a reversal. That has always been enough. Well, right now, more or less, we hit it. That was on the hourly chart, so with some buffer. With some buffer, yeah. Basically, we can still dip a bit more. But, I'll repeat, considering the amount of liquidation that has happened, that's the probability. Well, probably a little less than 50% that will break this low. Today's. But it exists. I don't know how else to say it right. Please hear me out. We're closing this too. Next, the amount of loss that short-term holders face, adjusted for the essence, is important. They translated it to the exchange for selling at a loss. Finally, after the last video, I mentioned that, yeah, this is a lot. This is a lot of losses. But, as a rule, we usually see a reversal through convergence or bullish divergence, however you want to put it, through convergence. For example, it was here we updated. The same thing here. Right now, we have the first sales at a loss. And here's the second one. We updated the low in price, but according to the indicator, we didn't update the maximum. This is already this one. So, the new pressure from sellers is now much lower than during the first wave of selling that happened after the JOLTS report. So, this also basically leads to a reversal. Plus, as we know, crypto tends to price in the most negative or the most positive scenarios ahead of important data releases. Even if tomorrow and the day after aren't as bad as expected, this drop could lead to a bigger bounce. If it's stable but bad, and the CPI is above 5, at least by 0.1%, it might still bounce. If it's 0.2 or 0.3 higher, we might update the loss probability. If that's the consensus, it will lead to a bounce. 1%. That might even lead to a bounce, but if it's 0.2 or 0.3 higher, then yeah, we'll likely update that loss with a greater probability. Well, if that's the consensus, it will definitely lead to a bounce. Most likely if inflation is lower, the probability of a bounce back is already approaching almost 100%. So, around the 50th bin, those same $98,000. Well, there's another interesting indicator that I rarely show, but it actually works pretty well. This is SOPR, the so-called Spin Output Profit Ratio. This is also specifically for short-term traders. So, we've moved into the loss zone, averaging a 2% loss in sales, for the day. On January 9th, they were selling at an average loss of about 1.5%. It went down to -2 at times. If you look at it over the hour, I'm looking at it by the day. It works exactly the same way. As soon as the SOPR for short-term traders drops below 0, so it goes into the loss zone with a buffer. These are always great entry points for an initial investment and for adding more. Here you go, the year 2024. January. After the approval of the actual Bitcoin ETF. 2021, the year of the bull. You can see it more clearly here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, we've already dropped low here, but basically, we've gone even lower before. 2017 year. Here, the dips were bigger because the volatility was higher, and corrections reached up to 40%, but still, the recovery was always pretty quick. That's it. Those are the main points. Right now, we've done the same thing. So, the minimum goal has been met across all indicators. Here's the minimum. So, right now, from my perspective, what am I expecting? Let's move to the 15-minute chart. So, the volume that went through on the 15-minute chart, well, if I'm day trading, and I do a lot of day trading, I'll show you that later. By the way, all the trading happens in the Telegram channel. All the trades. Today, I shared the list. All the Bitcoin trades that were in the Telegram channel over the past year, for 1 year. You can take a look. So just keep in mind that these long positions in the plus are shown at the final point of fixation. But the total profit is calculated as an average. Yeah, it's an average based on the exit points, which were usually 2 or 3. I rarely exited at just one exit point. And there was only one complete loss. This is from the drop. I closed it on August 5th. This loss, so you can take a look, and all new trades are the same, only available in the Telegram channel. The link to it is in the description below this video. So, the volume that went through in the 15-minute chart is really big. To give you an analogy, I'll provide an example of how this often works at reversals. So, I'll rewind back, and there was something very similar for us right here, around December 19th to 20th, when we seemed to have reversed. V-shaped reversal, right here, but some data is coming out, and we'll retest it like that. In this case, without an update, sometimes there's a slight update. And we're finally reversing. We're reversing. There it is. By the way, they updated it here in the end. But that's actually how it goes. In one wave, they updated it and we took off upwards. So right now, I'm expecting pretty much the same thing. Sometimes it happens without an update. So it's a clean reversal if you look at some specific moments. So it was also right here, with a repeated retest. Here's a high volume 2. 1. Well, we tested this shadow. That's it, we reversed. Let's go up. So right now, I'm waiting to see how this will play out. This reversal turned out to be normal. Nice bounce. With a trip somewhere, man, at least to the marks of $95,000. Maybe we'll even come back, right here. 97 to 98, the minimum target for this whole bounce. So, there's a chance that we'll partially retest. We'll cover this shadow, it's high. Honestly, I'll say it's high right now. How can this be? Like this, on tomorrow's PPI, for example, although that's already going to be something. It's too much, it's a 15-minute chart. For tomorrow's PPI, it should look like this already. Either it will be something like this. On the day after tomorrow's CPI, that's more likely. So either without an update or with an update. Something like this. Like this. There are two main options, but there will be a small update. It's unlikely to be significant. That is, at least a little lower by $500, $1,000, $1,500 maximum, it seems to me, well, and less, it will probably be a V-shaped reversal, which in this case will look somehow. We come here, consolidate, form a flag, and then shoot up. That's less likely, but those kinds of reversals do happen. So, here are my three main options for working with Bitcoin right now. By the way, Ethereum also came up in the last video. I gave the goal of 2,900, it was 2,900, my average first mark there was 3 to 3, 0.50. Right now, it's kind of hanging around in this range on the 15-minute chart. In general, a colossal amount of liquidation took place. There was a C here, a huge amount of liquidation was carried out here on the air. Everything is pretty much turning around the same way. So, for example, there's an attempt at a V-shaped reversal. We're partially closing and turning back up. The test occurs more frequently than a V-shaped reversal. These are more frequent events. But there could also be a bottom update here. Although Ethereum, honestly, has dropped a lot, like really hard. It dropped a lot. He's testing everything, really. This is both the 200-day moving average and the yearly moving average and S3. The support for Ethereum here is unreal. At these levels, it's unlikely to drop significantly lower without some kind of bounce. And remember, in the last video, I showed you this structure. Now it looks more complete. 1, 2, 3. We updated that low. We did it today. Just like it was back in 2021. I brought it up for comparison. 1, 2, 3. We update the low and head back up. So back then, it was a correction on a slightly different liquidity around 34%. Right now, it's about 30% from the peak if we're looking at it. Well, 29, alright. Plus or minus, it's pretty much the same. We've already done it. You can't go down here. You can't settle below this level. Can't settle here. It breaks the trend. Reversal needed to stay bullish. Then it will break the whole uptrend. This is where a reversal should already be forming if we want to keep the bullish trend. And as for the timing, I'll say it again, it's still too early for the bull run to be over. So, that's pretty much it. Thank you all for your attention. Just a quick overview. This was Mozart signing off, wishing us all good luck with these longs, and see you later.